Alrighty, folks, we are ready. We are here. Apologies for the delays. Let me turn off my AC unit so we don't have that background noise. So, we are going to get started. Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of the Producers Roundtable podcast. And we have a couple of really fun guests today. We have one new guest. We have two returning guests. So let me just go ahead and introduce you to all of them. Whoops, not that one. Here we go. Whoops, I also need to. I'm messing everything up already. Holy shit. They can hear you, by the way. So you should be able to say hi to everyone.
Hey, chat.
There we go. Okay, so hopefully you all should be able to see everyone. Getting off to a great start. Welcome everyone to the next episode of the podcast.
I think the music is still on pretty loud.
Yeah, I just muted the music. So
okay.
it should be gone. Oh, we're getting rated. Thank you to Copper Queen, who rated me a second time. Thank you so much, Sage. How are you doing? We are waiting on no one. Everyone is here. We are ready to start. Let's actually do this thing. I'm actually going to disable alerts for this. Thank you for that subscription. I'm going to be turning off alerts for this stream. Apologies, friends. Thank you so much. Now, pretty sure everyone here knows everyone on the podcast, but just for the sake of people who might be tuning in for the first time, why don't we go clockwise around the call and everyone introduces themselves, starting with the person over on my right. We got Jaren, aka Funkmod.
Hello, my name is Funkmod. You guys probably all know me. Make obnoxious dubstep. Yep.
Awesome. And you have your DJ set up right behind you, so maybe you can give us a set near the end.
Yeah. I'll go wicked fresh. You know.
Alrighty, and then below him we have the wonderful Carter.
Hi, my name's Funkmod. I make dubstep. My name's Carter. I'm just making weird music. I don't know. I made some Disney stuff yesterday.
Nice.
And I stream every day. So
yeah, and then last but not least, we have the legend below me, the Widdler, Yoni.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Yeah, you know me. It's good to be back on the podcast. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think this will be fun. I mean, this is what I would consider like the first full episode kind of thing, where up until this point we've had almost entirely new people, getting to know all the guests, kind of getting to know the format. But now I feel like we all sort of understand sort of how this goes, and I feel we'll have a lot of fun conversations. So to start things off, how is everyone doing? Hope everyone is handling the quarantine so far pretty good. They pretty much just extended the stay-at-home order for another 3 months here in California, so that's wonderful.
Wait, when did that happen?
I think they announced it this week.
Oh, wow.
So we're probably in for it until the fall. Honestly, you don't see Carter.
no, It's just dark. It's just dark. Okay, I just live in a dark hole. Okay, I'm sorry.
Turn on all your lights.
I will. I'll turn on a light for someone. Okay, chill.
Is anyone having a different experience or a weird experience with quarantine? Any fun quarantine stories or weird quarantine stories to start us off?
It's pretty much my normal lifestyle, so I'm just like...
Quarantine's just like forced me into what I do when I'm not working. It's like, it's kind of great because I don't have to travel, but at the same time, like, man, I miss playing shows.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's the one thing I miss more than anything.
Well, that might actually be a good starting topic. What do y'all think is gonna happen to like live shows as things progress? Because I've heard people say we might not have like a real live show or live festival or anything until like next year, maybe even 2022.
Yeah, who knows?
My guess is 2021. But I also think people are stupid. I think Americans are dumb. Like that. I mean, I'm American, but I think we're fucking stupid. I think what's going to happen is they're going to lift the moment the order is lifted everywhere. it's gonna be like nothing ever happened. I mean, people know about it, and maybe it'll sit in their mind for like a month, maybe two. People aren't gonna give a shit. Like people are just gonna move forward. That's what's gonna happen.
I could see cyber goth fashion coming back in fashion.
Oh yeah, just all the underground raves coming back. That might actually, honestly, like legitimately be a thing. Like, you know, the
illegal raves.
Yeah, like illegal raves happening, like at like some highway overpass, or in like some warehouse. I mean, it's gonna be risky, and a bunch of people are gonna get sick. But like, I don't know.
They've already lifted the order where I live. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta love America's consistency here.
I live in a red state, so they don't give a shit. They wanted to lift the. I mean, our governor said that they were going to extend it to like July, but there was like a bunch of protests, so they don't give a shit anymore. Go do what you want. That's pretty much what they said.
Yeah, I have no idea how long it's gonna take. I think that's not something we could really know, but I do know for myself personally, I'm not gonna be comfortable traveling until there's either a vaccine or some kind of, or 2 years pass. It's like one of the two things, because I'm not going to be putting myself at further risk playing one show than the people, like 10 times more risk just going to play one show than the people actually coming out to the show. So I'm kind of I'm in a place where I think I need to figure out what it is I want to do for the next 2 years, because everything's different.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of specifically for you, Wade, because I know you were probably touring weren't you touring like literally every weekend before this happened?
Yeah, I was, for the past like 4 years, I've been traveling nonstop every weekend. So it's been really weird for me to just be home.
Have you like heard from any of your like promoter friends or any of the people who you worked with in terms of like any idea of a timetable, or are they all kind of in the same boat as you?
No, it's just, I mean, I've had a few people reach out and be like, hopefully when this is over, we still want to work with you. And, they're just trying to keep relationships up. But like, yeah, everybody's just kind of waiting. The only thing that I see people doing is trying to get these digital festivals going, which I think are great. Especially at the start of quarantine, it really took off with a lot of channels, a lot of different groups of people. And it really helped, I think, a lot of people cope with being home and being alone. Mm-hmm. I don't think that there's going to be as much demand for watching live streams like that as much, but it's definitely gotten a leg up. I just, I don't know. These companies are hitting me up, not knowing what to do either. So it's like everybody's kind of still figuring their shit out.
Yeah, I mean, we're only like 2 months in to this, maybe like, I guess almost half a year if you count like December of last year is the start of like the whole COVID-19 crisis in China. But I don't know, like almost everyone I talk to is having like some sort of existential crisis at some point when it comes to this, because like a lot of jobs are, I don't want to say becoming obsolete, but like who the fuck is going to a show? Who would want to? At least right now. I mean, I guess there's people who would, but like I guess the question I would put to everyone here is, do you see a future for yourself or for your career that involves a lot of live shows still, or do you want to maybe make a pivot to something that doesn't require you to go outside anyways, basically?
I'm not like this is fucked up, but I'm not worried about it. So I wrote like a big research paper over the last like 3 weeks. It's like all I've been doing for one of my classes. And I mean, coronavirus and COVID-19 is definitely like it's definitely a thing to worry about, but it's also like this isn't fake news or anything, but it's pretty proven that like people our age don't really need to worry. And like that's not the worry. The worry is to carry it to your grandmother or grandfather or whatever. But even a lot of them don't show symptoms. I read a big thing about like the average amount of deaths. So like California has one of the worst, they've got it the worst, right? Like they have like some of the worst people. They only have like 300 more than average deaths. So in the month of, I think I was looking at March, only 300 people more than average died. But a lot of deaths are accredited to COVID because of the bill. And the bill just proves that like people will take advantage of it, which sucks. And like doctors are just gonna be like, hey, like, yeah, this person died in a car crash, but they also had COVID. I mean, that's an extreme example, but you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and it's also the other case where if someone is trying to go to a hospital and they have like
Yeah.
cancer and they can't get treatment because the hospital's full. That's technically not a COVID death, but it's also kind of a COVID death.
Or don't go, like, here's one thing too, is there's probably a lot of people who just never went, right? They probably got sick and never went, or there may be elderly people who didn't have like extreme symptoms and just passed away in their sleep or whatever, and it could have been triggered, but we don't know. But I think that I think like it's not going to affect me if I want to play live shows, because I think that things are going to bounce back, and it's going to be insane how quickly people bounce back, just because we're humans, we move on really quickly.
I agree that we are going to bounce back really hard, but I'm also it's
It's
worrying, yeah,
Yeah.
because of that. Because people are ready, they're so ready to just get back to normal life, but like, I'm sure we've heard from different sources. It's like, yeah, maybe the quarantine going on is a switch, but coming off needs to be a fader, and that's going to be the tough part. Is like, what's enough, what's too much, and it's going to be up and down. I think it's not like we're going to go in a direction of only opening. We might see some more waves and stuff. Who knows? It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. Well, did you want to say something, Jaren? Sorry.
What's it? I was just gonna say I totally understand if people would do that though, because like for me, like I don't really go out that much, and the only time I really go out is to play shows or go to like my homie shows, really, and that's kind of like the social interaction I usually get. Is sad as that sounds, but like I can totally understand why people would do that, and like man, I miss sound systems so much. Like I miss sound systems so much.
Yeah, well, part of the reason why I asked is because like I was talking with you last night, and you were talking about how like your music is, like you were saying, it's built off of big systems and being
Yeah,
played.
exactly.
Like, do you think your music will change as a result of this, or do you think you're going to keep writing in anticipation of it coming back?
I think it's just I've been doing that for so long that it's just kind of like the default mode anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. But like honestly, like I kind of do want to test certain tunes out on systems before I put them out on labels, because most of the distribution for that music is DJs playing it on sound systems, and I don't want the fact that I didn't get to play on a sound system and it gets played for the next 2 years and it sounds like shit on sound system, you know?
I dig that. I don't know. What about you, Yoni? Because like I don't know. I feel like my music is definitely shifting. As a result of this, it could just be because I've been in this friggin' apartment nowhere else for 2 months and haven't seen another person since the friggin' quarantine started. That wasn't, asking me to pay some bill or delivering me food. But
I mean, I feel like, so for the record, I'll always do 140, so I'm not going to change that. But I feel like if anything's changing, it's not the genres that I make, but it's the purpose that I'm making them for. Because like Funkmod was saying, a lot of the songs and stuff that I play is sound system music. It's not so much music you just put on in the. I mean, you can put it on in the car, you can put it on your headphones and go rock out, whatever, run. But for the most part, it's music that you experience on a sound system, and that's where it belongs. And that's what I was crafting my music for. I was not finishing songs. I was just making playable versions of stuff that could be played on a sound system. So at this point, I'm trying to restructure my stuff into actually finishing music, because now that I have the time at home, I think I can and should release more music, which is something I've always sucked at. So I'm definitely taking this chance to do that. Maybe not switch genres, but switch the way I think about making music and finishing music, because yeah.
Can I comment on that real quick?
of course,
No.
No. Okay. So I'm pretty much, I've seen in Yoni's music especially, is like he recently has been making stuff that's a little bit more progressive, where you listen to the whole tune rather than the first 32 bars of the drop. I've noticed that. And I've also been trying to make my tunes more progressive too, as more of a long listen than just like a DJ tune, I think you're going to see a lot of that with like more of the DJ genres or like styles of music or whatever. Is you're going to see a lot more drawn out drops, more intricate second drops, stuff like that.
To add on top of that, sorry, I was also noticing this from the DJ streams. So like the difference I think between a live show and these DJ live shows is you have so much more flexibility to play whatever you want at these shows rather than a real live show, because you're not at least for me, I'm not in an insecure place where I could see the audience and one person's not dancing. Oh shit, there goes my whole mood. Like, that's stupid, obviously, but it comes with this territory of, I think more people were excited to play their original music. People were more excited to play things that were different rather than just like playing a normal DJ set where they feel like they have to throw a party or something because it's a party. At least that's how I feel. So I think that too, the whole like people listening to music in a slightly different way from the same artists is going to push more artists to do that as well. What I think you're saying is like this whole more progressive music rather than just bangers and drops and stuff like that, which it has its place, but it's nice to see something more long form listening.
It's almost like progressive bangers now.
Yeah, well, I think that that is it's definitely something that I feel will lead to kind of a new direction for electronic dance music. Like, did y'all watch the Porter Robinson Secret Sky thing? That's the music festival. He like the URL festival,
Yeah.
I guess, that he just put on this past weekend, I feel like it was. And some of the sets were like he had Knower on, which is like Lewis Cole's band with Genevieve. I can't remember her last name. I feel so guilty that I can't remember it. But like they were basically just doing like this pop EDM set, and like there's a clip of it where they're doing their song "The Government Watches When You Masturbate." And that's literally the whole song. It's just them talking about how, these webcams that I have on my computer are always on, and the government knows when I'm jerking off. And would you necessarily have that on like EDC? Like the second to last set on Secret Sky before fucking Lil Texas's fucking journey into 500 BPM and beyond was like the head of the PC Music record label literally doing an acoustic set with like him, a microphone, and an acoustic guitar. And that was the set. When are you going to have that at EDC? When are you going to have that at Tomorrowland? I think that is something that it speaks to what you're talking about, Yoni, about like, people can explore more. And I think people are more open to that exploration because they're not in that environment where, I'm surrounded by all these people and I'm probably surrounded by all these drugs and I'm surrounded by all these influences. I'm in the comfort of my own home. I'm in the comfort of my own space and I can explore more. And I feel like that's kind of why I want to explore more with my music. I want to try more genres. I want to try stuff that's like, more like polyrhythm without having to be like the polyrhythm song.
Me and Yoni were just talking about that before you came in.
I was about to say, I want to talk about that next, but
I just saw that for Carter. Did you see that?
What?
All right, I'll link you on Discord. It's a video Eliminate put up. There's this new form of like rhythm, which is odd time signature.
Yeah, I saw
Oh,
it.
you saw it? Okay.
I mean, it's basically just one dude who made the song, and he's not even like he's. Do we want to talk about that, or do we want to keep talking about this subject?
Wait, whose song is it? Who made it?
His name's Phonon.
Okay.
It's Phonon. The track is literally called Polyrhythm. It's like it's using a little bit of microtonal stuff too, which is kind of neat. And there's a lot of like 7/8 meter, which is like weird because we're used to 4/4, which is 8/8, and it's like something's off here.
There's like 7 quarter notes in the phrase instead of 8,
and it feels kind of off. And I think we could definitely go deep on that. But did anyone have any other comments on like URL festivals or changing music and stuff? So
I have another comment on it. I think right now the market is super saturated for it.
Yep.
It was, I think, a few weeks ago. It was pretty cool, but now you get these they're like announcing like on the same channel they have like 2 to 3 shows a week, and it's like it's kind of went from like, oh shit, I've always wanted to see this person, but they never have a live set or ever, and I can go check it on Twitch or whatever. It's kind of just turned into kind of more of the, I don't mean to be patronizing, but kind of the local DJ kind of lineup.
No, dude, I feel that so hard when the local DJ, especially like plays every week along with their guest as well. It's like, oh, we have this guest, but we're also playing again this week for 4 hours.
Yeah. I just feel like it's kind of turned into that, to where I'm just like,
Yeah, there's too many. I think there's too many shows happening, which is weird to say, because I don't know, and I can't say this for sure because I don't know how every show is different, and I don't know what it's like. But these shows aren't really there to make money. They're more there to just stay relevant and to help people. So it's like, at the end of the day, I don't know how sustainable it is for all these companies to be continuously doing these shows. The donations that they're getting back are nice, but nowhere near as much as they would, for be able to pay one artist for a show or something. So,
oh yeah,
I don't know what the future
of what you get paid for a live show. Let's just keep that very clear. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Do you think these artists are getting paid?
I only took payment on one show, and that was because I felt like I needed to. And from then on, I've said, no, I don't want to take payment for these shows. I'll take maybe a little bit of the donations, but honestly, it's like nobody's making money here. I can't be the one to ask for it.
Fair enough. I get that.
I mean, I've been talking to Twitch staff. They have they have a pretty unique way they're gonna be hopefully moving music forward on Twitch.
Well, Twitch has been doing really well. Let's be honest.
I can talk about it. So Twitch is starting essentially their own OBS, right? But they're making an entire version for musicians. And essentially it's going to come with like, I don't know if built-in graphics, but way to make music streams more engaging. And that seems to be like a lot of things holding people back from streaming. Like if you notice, like a lot of these bigger artists streamed for like 3 days and then never streamed again, right? Or they stream like once every few months because like they just don't need to, right? Like it's not sustainable, but Twitch is going to essentially make OBS with like, have you ever seen like people who do like whatever, like sub goals, right? Or like bit goals, and then it just has a sound, right? Or they reach the goal and that's it. And it's like kind of hard to track. Like you have to be paying attention to it. Well, this is going to automatically track it. Like when you reach like if somebody gives you 5 bits, it'll be like, do this, whatever, you get this, or it'll trigger something or whatever. And it's going to be all built in, and it's all kind of designed around music streams and interactive streaming. So there's a bunch of really cool stuff they're doing too for like live DJ shows. They're gonna in this software, they're gonna make it so they can switch between my stream and say Widdler stream with the flip of a button, but it'll all be into one stream.
Yeah, that's been a nightmare. Like with the few streams that I've done is switching DJs and stuff. Holy shit, it's a nightmare.
I think pre-recording the set is better, but it's also like, I think having chat there is kind of like having a real audience there if you're playing it live. Because like sometimes like there's some whack shit people play, and like they could just see the chat and be like, yo, it's Twitch. Or like in Secret Sky, if you guys were watching Madion's set, right? Madion had like seizure moments in his set. Like the graphics were too much. Like I don't even have epilepsy, but I almost did. Like it was really, really, really bad. And everyone in chat was like, make it stop. But it was pre-recorded, so he couldn't. It was so bad.
I think also if they do a music streaming thing, they got to put the anti-clip button. Like you can absolutely not clip it. Like, you know how in like Pioneer mixers, it has like the first clip and then the second clip. You need that in the streaming software.
Or if I've heard it'll just disconnect you.
Just like fucking rammed.
I mean, you guys know that in OBS you can use VSTs.
Yeah.
So on my OBS, I have a compressor and a limiter on my microphone. Like,
and your stream is still so quiet.
I'm gonna be real. I didn't know that.
my stream is not bro. My stream, okay,
your stream is really quiet.
No, here's the thing. His stream is quiet because when he finally puts the mastering patch on his track, like you don't want to be around
-2 Carter tune.
True. I mean, I think and I also listen quietly. You guys have to realize when I make music, I listen pretty quietly because I work yesterday I worked on a song for like 8 hours. And my ears never got dyed. I mean, I got tired of some of the sounds, but that was it. So.
Well, I mean, I think that sounds awesome. Like, but I wonder, do we need new software to improve Twitch music, or do we just need Twitch Music as a category to be supported? Like,
They're
that's
definitely supporting it.
Okay.
They're definitely going to be supporting it more. I mean, some I have talked to, they're just like backed up now. Like everyone's at home. So like I talked to the head of Twitch Music because he's the one that was helping me like set up partner for some of these guys that I've been working with. And because they had no idea like how to even like go on their dashboard to find the partner button.
Yeah.
And essentially they're just so backed up. They had a bunch of stuff planned and it's almost impossible because no one's in the Twitch office. So to coordinate these things, first of all, they have to get everyone on a Zoom call and then they have to make it work and they can't just troubleshoot as it goes because they're all connected from different locations and they can't have like a team monitoring the stream to fix issues.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to push like a Twitch-based music event right now.
Well, I mean, I get that. And I guess maybe my point is like, yeah, Twitch is doing a lot for people who are successful outside of Twitch, but who the fuck cares? I'm sorry. I want to be blunt for a second. Who actually cares about these artists when you have people like us four and like other artists who have been on the platform for like years? Like Widdler's been on Twitch for what, 6 years?
Yeah, but to be fair, honestly, I'm so disengaged from the actual Twitch, not the Twitch community, but the administration part of Twitch, the office side of Twitch, because honestly, I'm like worried that they'll be like, dude, you do so much TOS shit on your stream that we can't, we've just been turning a blind eye. So I don't even want to like tap someone's shoulder and be like, hey, remember me? And then be like, oh yeah, TOS.
No.
So
that guy that gets baked on stream all the time? Yeah, we know.
No,
yeah,
but
it's like, I know that's not the case, but I have an arm's length away from the Twitch staff because I don't know what to expect from them. It's like worse than YouTube, man.
Do you guys remember when Protostar got front page? He was the only person who's like part of our regular community that got front page ever that I've seen. And when he got front page, it was he was doing his beat battle thing, I remember. And that was like extremely engaging. It definitely brought attention.
Yeah, I want there to be more of that, I guess. And I feel like right now, there's so many new big names, glitzy names going on. Like, yeah, before that point, like Protostar was like the biggest person in music, but now like literally this past weekend, Insomniac and Beatport were on front page for like 3 hours.
Kenny Beats is on front page every other week.
So like they're supporting musicians who have an audience outside of the platform, but like if we can see support for like chess, because I try to keep an eye on what's going on outside of Twitch Music to see like what does Twitch do for like Valorant. What do they do to support that game when it came out? What is happening with chess? Like I don't know if you've heard, but there's going to be a huge Twitch Rivals thing for chess, and so all of the chess streamers are now blowing up because they're teaching all of the top streamers how to play chess. And if they can do that for chess, why couldn't they do it for DJing? Why couldn't they do it for beat making? Why couldn't they do it for all these people who have built up a platform on Twitch before everything blew up, before COVID, and use the people who have like some sort of roots within the broader Twitch music community? At least that's my
I see potential for that, especially as like, I mean, just as like a single idea is like you could do a collaboration between like a big streamer who say plays a video game and says a lot of random shit and a music streamer who can make a meme song about it. And they could, that could be a collaborative effort where the streamer sends his chat over to you so that they can help you make a meme based on that streamer or something. But yeah, no, I see what you're saying. There's definitely that lack of actual integrated support of Twitch helping its own users. And talking about this and like even saying out loud earlier that like me noticing that I'm an arm's length away from the Twitch staff at all times and kind of not wanting to be involved, I think that's irresponsible of me. And I think I'd like to maybe try and change that, because I know that I'm one of the bigger music producer streamers that's been doing this for a while, and I need to help build that up rather than, distance myself. So that was just a little wake-up call I thought I'd put out loud.
I get that.
I think Carter needs to teach Moon how to make trap beats, and that will blow up the whole music community.
Absolutely.
It'll be lit.
Here, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I think that no matter how much you push music to the front page, unless you have a big name and people like you for, I think the reason people like Kenny Beats is that man was born to stream, right? Have you guys watched his stream? He was literally born to do this. Like he just has that streamer, like the perfect streamer personality. But if you're not Kenny, for example, it's just so niche. Like it's very hard for Twitch to see, like as a devil advocate, it's hard to see Twitch and putting us on the front page and being like, hey, yeah, we're Twitch. Here's this guy working on this chord progression for the last 4 hours. He's changed 2 notes, like it's I think that's the hard part is like finding like festivals. It's different like Insomniac because like Twitch can be like, look, we're live streaming EDC 2002, like it's sick, bro. Yeah, like, it's really hard, right?
No, and
local host made a really good point. An Amazon Music thing could be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to go in. I actually think that would, like giving people the ability to like play music on their streams, as long as it's on like the Amazon Music library, would be honestly a really, really smart perk for them to go in.
Watch parties. We can do watch parties now. So
like new albums and stuff, listen-alongs and stuff like that. And you make a really valid point. That's kind of why like I talk sometimes about, what should a Twitch stream do for music? And I think, Yoni, if it's all right for me to bring this up from yesterday's stream, if you're not comfortable, it's okay.
No, I'm comfortable with anything.
But like, yesterday we were all hanging out in Widdler's stream, and we were getting close to the end of the day, and Widdler was, having a bit of an emotional moment. If you want to kind of give people the backstory, you can, or I can kind of let people know. I don't want to talk for them.
I mean, yesterday was every stream, for the record. I always want it to be the best stream I've ever done, which is stupid. You can't go in with that kind of goal setting. That's external goal setting, and that's a good way to set yourself up for failure and frustration. So I had one of those days where I set myself up for having the best stream ever. It was a great stream. Nothing terrible happened. Nothing amazing happened. It was the most average stream possible. But for me, what changed yesterday was I had a feeling of not living up to my potential in terms of what I want to be doing as a streamer. And what that means isn't that I wasn't happy with the stream. I was very happy with the stream. I love every Wednesday. I love producing with everybody and listening to everybody's stuff. But I had a moment where I felt like I had detached myself from what it is that I started streaming with. And I just got overwhelmed with the fact that my stream is growing. I don't know what to do with my stream. I feel like there's potential that I'm missing out on, especially because of this COVID influx of people. And I was upset at myself for not being confident in what I was doing, because part of the reason that I started streaming was confidence to an extent. It was, I wanted to show people how I do things and how it's okay to fail and how it's okay to do stupid stuff, and that nobody's perfect and that you have to learn and do trial and error. But it got to the point yesterday where I felt like I was so far away from that, and I was unconfident. I had no idea what my goals were. I was trying to impress people rather than impress myself. And it got to me all at once. And I had a quick, I'm always very transparent with my chat. I don't like to put up any kind of wall. It's like, Widdler's acting weird. What do you think could be going on? Like, I'm always pretty straightforward about it. And so I talked to the chat. I said, having a weird day, not really feeling the stream. I felt like 2 of my idols came by and I disappointed them in not having the coolest stuff on my stream, because Greg Jones came by and Plastician came by, and it's just like, I had this realization, like I have this platform and I have this potential and I'm squandering it. So I'm sorry to ramble on. I'm finishing this off, but I think that it was a combination of the anxiety of wanting to do better for my stream, not knowing how to do better for my stream, and being scared for just my musical career in general, because I don't really have a job right now.
No, and I get that, and I hope you can take a moment to look at the Twitch chat.
No, dude, honestly, this Twitch chat yesterday, people hit me up after my stream. Like, it started slow, but like by the end of the night, I had so many messages to get to. So I love you guys a lot. I appreciate you, and I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. I just want to, be transparent, because I think if we're honest with each other, we can help each other. So
yeah, no, absolutely. What is going on?
Transparent.
Oh, yeah, Yoni, respect for being like straightforward with it, though. It takes a lot of courage to sit there and like admit that kind of shit, you know.
Yeah.
So big ups, man.
Thank you.
It's you know, being a streamer can be hard because we're also a human being, and there are many moments where those two things are in conflict with each other, and like kind of bringing these two ideas together, what Carter was talking about and what you just brought up. The reason why I mentioned it is I feel like we all are in a space where we want to do more, but we struggle with knowing how. And I think like what Carter said about, you know, who really wants to do or who wants to watch, excuse me, someone tweak one note in a chord progression for 4 hours. Very few.
I don't even want to watch myself do that.
Yeah, very few people give a shit about that stuff. So the question then becomes, how do you do a Twitch music stream that is entertaining, that is engaging, that does have audience interactions, and does not take 20 hours of feedback to get you to that point? And I think, excuse me, doing challenges, I think, has been good. Part of the reason why I focus on education is because I think it's easier. It's hard to teach. That's something I've learned in the past year of doing this. It is
Especially
hard.
when your class is in and out. Like, you know, it's not like a real class where you see the students there and you can continue talking to them. You never know if someone's in the chat or not, or
Yeah,
well, and half of them are probably like baked out of their minds. So
it doesn't help
either.
Some of them are young, some of them are, you know, from different countries, and it's a difficult thing. Like teaching on itself or in and of itself is a difficult thing, let alone teaching on a platform like this. But education is easier for people to consume than essentially the minutia of production. Watching someone tweak an EQ for an hour is not going to be as good to watch as seeing someone say, hey, this is exactly how you would want to hunt and kill resonances in your snare to make sure that it sits well in the mix or whatever. And I feel like if you want to be the person who does a song on Twitch, it's a very different market than if you want to be, and this might be a bit harsh to say, a successful streamer. But I could be missing something on that, because I mean, obviously, like Carmack produces on stream every stream, and he gets 100, 200 viewers.
I think. Sorry, go ahead, Carter.
I was gonna say, I think it's because like Carmack has like a similar workflow to me. I think that's one thing that makes my stream like a little, because like most people who just produce on stream average like 5 viewers, and I'll average anywhere from 40 to 60. It just depends, right? 20 to 60, or it doesn't matter. And I think it just depends on the workflow. Like my workflow in my brain is like, I got to get this whole idea out. I'm going to grind through it. This chord sounds like shit. I don't care. I'll come back and fix it. I'm going to write out an entire idea as quick as I can, and then go back and quickly change things so that I can keep like my music brain is like momentum. Like I can't stop working on this, or I'm going to lose the idea. Like yesterday I worked on a song for 7.5 hours, just didn't stop because I was like, I got to get, like, this has potential. I just got to keep going. What's the next 4 bars? What's the next 4 bars, And I think that's one thing. Like if you're somebody who's a methodical producer, it's going to be really hard to watch, but you have to have certain workflows attract that, like that's one reason I think Kenny Beats is popular too, is like when you're making hip hop like he does, it's like he's made it so much that he just kind of knows where to go with it,
What is Kenny Beats's I haven't really watched his stream too much. I've seen like some clips and highlights. What is his like interaction like? What is the level? I know that he's a great entertainer. I know that he's got really cool beats, and I know that he's creative as fuck and has a lot of cool tips to teach people, but I'm curious as to, because I see that there's like 2 sides to this puzzle of being a music streamer. There's the interactive side and there's the uninteractive side. And I get that, like, even a gaming streamer has a level of interaction and uninteraction. Like they ignore the chat, but they also read the chat. The difference, I feel like, is when you're doing a production stream or when you're sitting there just working on music. I don't know. I guess what is Kenny Beats' interaction?
He reacts to donations.
Okay.
He tried when he first started. He was trying to read the chat, but
No, that's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
You can't do that.
I mean, he definitely does. He definitely does like look in chat and read it. But his interaction is the fact that like I think big streamers do this too, certain big streamers, but they just talk about shit and act like someone said it in the chat, but no one might have ever said it, you know? Like
Yeah.
you don't know though, because the chat's going a million miles an hour. So you're just like, I see people saying blah 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 blah, and then just goes off. It's like, yeah, bro, someone definitely said that. Like, I don't know, chat's going a million miles an hour, you know?
It's so true.
Yeah.
I've always suspected that as well.
Well,
Asmongold does that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's, I think that is sort of part of the kind of, streaming versus producing thing. Like you said, Kenny Beats is kind of born for this, and part of that is he doesn't really care per se what people are saying in chat, but he can use it to fuel whatever it is he's going to talk about next. And this gets into kind of what I think is almost the crux of it, which is Twitch chat does not like waiting. If you have dead air, if you have a delay, if you have to wait for people to respond, then you're going to drop 5, 10, 15, 20 viewers. And I know, like, Yoni, like, when we do challenges, we're constantly like, all right, we got to get through the thing. We got to get through the challenge. Timer's up. Okay, let's put on some background music and let's get people uploading. We don't want to wait, because the more you wait for people to upload their tracks, the more viewers you lose.
I have one question for the chat. What takes you all so goddamn long to upload a file to Discord? What is happening? Like, you guys you produce on the computer all day. What is the holdup, man?
I think it's people like going past the timer and being like, oh shit, I'm gonna do this.
My Ableton crashed. I rented out the wrong one.
Yeah. Oh, I accidentally sold the channel.
I gotta put Soothe on.
I can't lie. I have accidentally soloed a channel like 20 times, and then having to do it. But you can just replace the file. Like, I just upload. And
yeah, like, don't even say anything. Don't upload a second one. Don't say anything. Make it a secret. Delete it. Re-upload it. That's the best way.
Yeah, whenever Wid does a challenge, I just upload a full song. I just upload the little 20-second beat, and then right before he gets to mine, I just replace the file with an entire track.
Secret. Those are the secret memes right there. I'm sorry.
No, I mean,
what was the main topic?
Well, that's the thing. That was the main topic. Like, it's how do we deal with chat, and how do we keep the stream? I guess that was the question I was getting to with my point. Was like, how do we make a Twitch stream entertaining while still doing what we want to do? With that in mind, like, how do we either train Twitch chat, which I don't think is possible. I don't think you're ever going to be able to control the chat. But how do we balance engagement with whatever it is we want to do, basically?
I think even if it's not direct interaction, it's important to just, like, I narrate what I do it even if I'm not streaming. That's just how I am. Like, I narrate my workflow. Like, I consider my stream, though, an educational stream, right? Like, I'm not teaching music, but I'm teaching the way I make music. And, like, I try to talk through everything I'm doing. And then I'll always say, I'll be like, hey, I'm not reading chat right now, but this is what I'm doing and why, you know? And I think that helps a lot. I think as long as you narrate what you're doing, people can somewhat understand. And then when you go back and read chat, they can be like, hey, can you clarify this? Right?
Yeah, I would say, like, especially with the narration, like, I've seen a million people distort a sound. Like, explain to me why you're distorting the sound.
Yeah.
Because even though I might have a different approach to it, it's more interesting to hear your perspective on something. That helps me learn more if you're narrating it, right?
Oh yeah. Well,
whereas, like, if I just watch somebody just, like, make a neuro bass and they put distortion on it, like, oh, I've seen this a million times, and I'm like, oh, why does it sound so sick? And then they never know. Just, like, I guess just put distortion on it.
Actually, I think what Matt said in chat, actually, it kind of, I think, gets to another part of this, where people might not even necessarily be engaged with what is happening on screen so much as, like, the story that's going on, the conversation that's going on. Because like,
I feel like that's with game streamers that I watch a lot too. I don't really care much for some of these games. It's the conversation, it's the personality, it's the community, it's what gets brought up in that zone.
I get more viewers when I start talking about random shit and we start going down rabbit holes. It doesn't matter what it is on my stream. We could literally be talking
Contracting e-girls.
anything.
Yeah.
Anything. All we do is just like if we go on a rant, my stream instantly jumps like 20 viewers. It's just sometimes like the majority of the time, I'm a nerd, dude. I want to work on music. Like I just love working on music. I can't help it. Like I'd rather work on music than sit around and watch did JFK do 9/11. You know, like I don't want to watch shit like that or talk about it all the time. It's interesting.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess like what Matt's saying is actually pretty clear. Like it's people want novelty. And it's hard to find novelty in like what Jaren was saying, like watching the same neurobase be created for the 50 millionth time. Oh look, you detuned some saw waves. Hooray.
I feel attacked.
Yeah, but you explain.
Carter, I'm sorry, but you still gotta work on your Reese, bro. I'm sorry.
I don't make dubs or I don't make DMB. I made one DMB song and it's a sine wave. Okay.
I think Funkmod's shirt says "I love Reese bases" in Japanese.
It is actually a neurofunk label, so yeah.
Oh,
You're pretty close.
I'm curious. Do you think that different types of music are received better on Twitch, like as a streamer? Like, do you think like hip hop does better than EDM, or do you think EDM does better than hip hop, or do you think it even matters?
I think it matters at the very top. I think hip hop is going to do better than EDM at the very top, just for and consistently. I mean, because Slander streamed and had like 50,000 people in there. But that's also because they're friends with some bigger like normal streamers like Fed and those people.
Mm-hmm.
I just think hip hop is because hip hop's like the #1 genre in the world, right? So I think hip hop at the top, you're going to notice a big discrepancy in viewers. But in like our range of viewership, I think they're just completely different communities, and I think the electronic community is bigger, to be honest.
I'm looking at the Twitch music section right now. Insomniac Rewind is on top with 11K. The second place one is Francis Got Heat in the Studio with August Rigo. So this is like a studio session with 10K viewers. I'm about to open it right now and see what they're doing. Seems like they're just chatting right now. They're not even in a DAW. So it's like, I think the big difference in the number of viewers that come to a stream is also like these companies have money, they have reach, they have promotion. So it's like when someone like Insomniac throws an event, they have a minimum number of people that are already expected to be there, let alone the other people that find out about it. And it's like they have the control, you know, to pump those numbers if they need to, either artificially or by spending more money. It's not hard for them, I think, for these big companies, whether it's hip hop or EDM, to be able to throw big shows. But that's, I don't know, that's maybe off topic. I guess what I'm saying is I'm looking over here at the top of the Twitch music section right now, and we have Kenny Beats listening to someone's SoundCloud, and then the rest are DJs. So it's like, where is the production? Where does production sit in all of this? Where's the interactivity in the production? And at what point, sorry to bring up another question, but at what point in growth of a stream does that have to change? Because, you know, as there's such a big difference between 20 viewers to 100 viewers, 300 viewers, and then I would say probably 500 to 1,000 is when it changes again. And it's just like they're totally different places. I don't know.
No, I mean, it's funny you brought that up, because I was going to just start talking about growth and like how much growth do you think we can have? How high can we get there, and what we'd have to do? So you pretty much took the words out of my mouth. And honestly, I'm not sure. Like, I feel like there are some things that will essentially scale up, so to speak. Like, I think feedback, obviously, Kenny Beats is literally doing feedback right now. The top streamers are probably all going to do some day of demo reviews, or like if you look at like the professional producers who came on to streaming and were doing stuff, a lot of them were doing like demo days where they're doing feedback. and I think that challenges are pretty engaging. It might be hard to scale those up, and I've been thinking a lot about this, particularly because like I feel like honestly, Wid, if you put in kind of like the type of work that you are currently doing, but that you don't seem to realize that you're doing, you would easily double or triple in your view count. And I think that might be a problem in terms of like, you know, getting these challenges done. But I'm curious to see like what can we do to make these challenges more streamlined? What sort of things can we do to add other types of content that might not necessarily be a challenge where we all write the same track, but something where the audience still feels like they're engaged.
Yeah, 100%.
Raffle.
Sorry, go ahead, Carter.
Yeah,
raffle a ticket for a challenge, and the first you just really quick, boom, 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 raffle 10 people. There's probably a bot that tracks like winners and latest winners.
But
like,
what's to stop? Let's say, all right, I raffled 10 winners. Oh man, I really wanted to participate in this challenge and show the stream what I had, and now I'm not going to participate. I'm leaving. I'm going to go watch another stream.
Doesn't matter. It's the people want that's an anticipation of it might be me. It might be me on the next
No,
one.
I get that. I think like one thing that I did notice in the last 2 weeks of streaming is that some challenges are okay for like 30 entries and some are not.
Yep.
Like
collabs cannot be over like 10, 20 people. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it gets a little hectic with blind collabs. Even the collabs that you would think, or the challenges that you would think are easy, like I recorded my voice saying a sentence and I tell everyone to make it into a monster voice. That got so annoying. That was the worst challenge I've ever done.
Oh yeah.
And it was like hearing the same sentence slightly different over and over 40 different times. It was hell.
Dude, I fell asleep and I could still hear the phrase. I was like,
yeah, no, and that's like,
enter by, I can't,
and that's when G Jones came into my stream, and that's when Plastician came into my stream, and all I'm thinking is like, I'm not happy with my stream right now.
Yeah, honestly, I think the raffle idea that Carter proposed is actually like, honestly, I think it's not a bad idea because like, maybe just from my perspective, but when I do challenges, I just do it because like, it's like a game. It's fun to do, you know? Like, it's cool to get a reaction, but at the end of the day, the most fun is just like having like a quest log, you know? Whereas like when you're usually producing, you don't have an objective. You just make a good tune, you know?
Yeah, no, I think the challenges are such good practice. Nothing, you know, against like people who try to flex on the challenges and stuff and try to show how good they are. But if you're really not,
Andy,
it's like if you're not really trying some like, I don't even want to say new stuff because maybe it's not the time to experiment during a challenge. But if you're not pushing yourself to your limits and trying new creativity things, like you're missing the point of the challenge. Like anybody could just make a beat out of presets and stuff. But like, what did you really learn? I don't know. You could still learn, but it's less.
Oh yeah.
I think it teaches you. I think challenges are critical. Like Vapor Cruise, for example. I always tell them this because Vapor Cruise, you guys know Vapor Cruise finishes a song once every 10 years, maybe, if we're lucky. And I was like, dude, just start doing the challenges. I was like, even though because he cares a lot about how his music compositionally goes. Like he has like 20 different instruments in 30 seconds. And I was like, dude, just like start doing them to get the workflow fast. Like even if you're making the same thing, and even if you're getting 5 seconds of a song done, like you're gonna get faster by forcing yourself to just move on, you know?
Dude, I swear to God, Vapor Cruise works in MIDI with a hammer and a chisel.
Like he sculpts it like clay.
Yeah, sorry, Funkmod, go ahead.
Just on like the same topic, like have you guys noticed, like this is something that I've noticed when I start to actually like sit down for an actual session, not just a time thing or whatever, is that I get an hour in and it feels like I've done 2.5 hours worth of work. Like I've gotten so much faster doing challenges to the point where I'm like, dude, this is almost done. And I've only been working on this for 2 hours.
And it can also help you, you know, on the other side of that, let's say you are working on something for 2 hours and it's just not clicking. Like, dude, let it go. Move on. Start over and try again.
I thought about that, right? That used to be my thing, is just delete a project and move on. But if I hear like the ounce of potential, after watching Mr. Bill, I've learned something. Sometimes you just got to fucking power through.
Yeah. There's two sides to that for sure. Yeah.
Because yesterday I was working on that like Disney track. That's what I'm going to call it. It's like Disney, like soul music. And I was like, man, this sucks. Like, I hate these chords. I was like, but I hear something, like there's something there. It just feels empty. So I just grinded it for like 7 hours, and now it's like, man, this may be the best like piece of music I've ever wrote.
Yeah. No, not,
So-
not to say that there isn't sometimes that point where you reach a struggle point in the song where suddenly you can fix it and it's like, oh, it just all clicked. Like, I love that. I love when you're like struggling with something for so long and then suddenly it clicks and you're like, oh, this is so much better. But yeah, at the same time, it's like if you're in a 20-minute challenge and you start with a really shitty kick drum, you're not going to continue with that kick drum right away. You're going to switch it to something that's better. So why struggle for too long on a long form project when you can try again?
Oh yeah, and I think that like with Mr. Bill, part of why he can grind through is because he will grind on a kick drum for 2 hours and then decide it sucks and delete it.
Yeah.
Like that is a big part of why I think both sides of this coin still lead towards challenges and time things and like not being too precious over an idea, because, you know, the sunken cost fallacy is one of the hardest things for a lot of people to get over. And, you know, if you are churning out like 20 10-minute beats in a day, it's really hard to feel like any one of those is super important. Because there's always the next one that you do, so that when it comes time to really grind out 20-minute tracks or 10-minute tracks is 200 minutes. It's like 2 hours worth of work that you've probably just quote unquote wasted, but you learned a lot of stuff along the way. You got a couple of cool ideas. Maybe one of them can go into a sample pack, or one of them can be the start of a new song. And like it, for me at least, it gets to a place of like removing yourself from your ego and not letting yourself think that you are essentially more important than you are, by looking at that through your work and saying like, oh, well, this track is my baby. I don't want to get rid of this. I've spent so much time on it. But sometimes you got to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Well, I think one of the things with like, especially the Mr. Bill method of spending 2 hours on a kick drum and then deleting it, is that like for a lot of people, they don't have time to do that. Like they have other stuff going in their life besides making music, right? So it's awesome to be able to sit there and spend 2 hours on a kick drum if you're a musician for a living. But if you have other stuff going on, that's not realistic. Like that is not something you should shoot for at all. It's like a time affordance, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that might actually be an interesting topic, because I've noticed we've gotten a bunch of people who are kind of new into like music, or like I've noticed I've gotten a lot of like brand new people who have never produced before on these streams. I don't know if you all have encountered that, especially lately. And I feel like people are suddenly realizing that there is a lot more time they're afforded. And I'm curious, what can we do to help them keep that spark once this is ended? Like, how do we keep people producing?
Just make a lot of ideas. Like, I don't know. I try to make something different every stream. Every stream. Like, if I made a future based track the day before, I'm going to try to make something like house the next day. But even though like I'm going to make another future based track at some point on my stream, and it's going to probably be within the next week, it's just like I'm going to at least try to make something different. That's like what I did with this song yesterday. Is like I was like, I kind of want to make like some like hip hop soul music, but like Disney. And so I just kept grinding out like orchestral things, and I was like, I'm going to make it work, you know? And that's like my biggest struggle is like on my stream all the time I'm trying to make new genres. And like a lot of the time I fail for the first week I try. And then Wid shows up to my stream one day and I have a hardcore drum and bass tune. And he's like, how did you do this?
Dude, that
like,
song, no, what? Screw you, buddy. That song is not fair.
He's like, how did you do this? I was like, I don't know. I just kept laying things down until it worked.
So going off of what Musar said, I think one of the important things, and a lot of people, when you like talk about music production, think like every time they open the DAW, it has to be this productive songwriting. And that's simply not true. I think that one way that people can stay involved in working on music after quarantine and after their time is not as, open is that, it could be like a sketch pad. Let's say you're sitting at a restaurant, and you have a pen and a napkin and you're waiting for your food. You're not about to draw a picture that you're going to sell on eBay for $300. Of course not. You're drawing a picture to let out some creativity, to have some fun, and to explore new things that you've never done before. And I think that that's the most important part of being a DAW producer or musician, is that you don't like every time you open a DAW, yes, you have the potential to write a song, and it could be daunting to open up that project that's blank, and it looks like that same project that had a full song in it, but now it's blank. But that doesn't mean that your canvas has to be as important every single time. It could be a sketch, it could be a drawing, and as long as you sketch every day, as long as you draw every day, as long as you just have fun with it, and you don't expect anything from yourself that's out of the realistic realm, like, oh, I'm going to sit down and make a banger today. Like, no, you're going to sit down and practice making sounds today. Tomorrow, you're going to sit down and practice laying it out. Tomorrow, the next day. And you just keep doing that, like Carter said. And one day, it all clicks together. So it's like, if I was going to say any tips for new people who are slowly running out of time as quarantine ends, just every day open your DAW and at least make a new sound. Just at least one sound.
I would say, like, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, or a new drum pattern, besides just sound
just open
like
a project, open something.
I started doing yesterday was triplets. Like all day, I never work in triplets, and I was like, "Fuck it, we're gonna do it all in triplets." So, or go ahead, Funk.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So I would say it's kind of like what they're saying. It's like you got to do it every single day. Like that's the most important thing. Like I had a lot of years where I'd grind for like 3 or 4 days, like 10, 12 hours a day. And then I'd get super discouraged that it didn't come out with something I liked on the other end, and then not work on anything for like a week or two. Like, don't put such big expectations on yourself every single day. Just know that you're going to do it every single day, and just use it to explore something different every time. And then just be surprised when the result is actually something that you like. That's all I would say.
No, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, I think. And I would say that when you are looking at, the outcome of your production sessions, I think it's really easy to get like right up against it, be very granular, not even just looking at the forest for the trees, but like just looking at the leaves on each tree. And you are so caught up in that you forget, this time last month, you got maybe 10% less far than you did this time. Maybe a year ago, you got half as far as you did this time. And being able to look back and reflect on where you've come from is kind of a better metric than what you did today. Which again comes back to like ego, and comes back to, how precious you are with every idea. Because, Wid's not here, but I'm going to steal one of his sayings that I've been stealing a bunch, which is, it's not necessarily that you write music for 6 years and then write a song. It's that you're writing a song for 6 years, and eventually one day the finished product comes out.
Copyright the Widdler.
Yeah. Oh no.
Here's something funny is whenever I write music, I've come to learn that I learn more if I finish an idea. So if I finish a song, every single song I've ever made, I have over 1,000 finished songs. And every single one I learned something, right? And that's now something that I incorporate into the next song, I think that's like finishing an idea is crucial, even if the idea is shit, because you're going to try something different, hopefully. And I think hip hop, I don't mean to like rip on hip hop people, but it kind of sticks you in this part where like creativity for developing like maybe new methods or new sounds is kind of stifled, and you should look to just try to make other stuff like all the time. I think hip hop is one that it's really hard to innovate in,
Well, and this might be kind of a contentious topic, and I would say it's a problem for hip hop and also for dance music. I think we all kind of suffer through this a little bit, where it's not necessarily driven by like creativity or by expression. It's driven by profit. Like hip hop is an industry, EDM is an industry. You are expected to have a certain caliber of quality and a certain sound that is marketable and approachable to a whole group of people. So there isn't the same type of room, at least in my opinion, to innovate when, like, look, I don't have enough time to learn a new skill for this because I gotta make 10 tracks because I gotta put out a record so that I can stay relevant on Spotify against, you know, all these other rappers or all these other producers who are churning out just as many tracks. I think maybe COVID-19 will slow that down a little bit because there aren't as many songs and people aren't listening to streaming as much, but I don't think it's going to go away.
I think people should roll with mistakes too. That's a common thing I see. Like I pop into a lot of streamers on Twitch and like I don't say anything. I just lurk in chat or whatever and watch them produce. It's like I see somebody make a mistake and like it's in key or whatever, but like it just sounds whack and they just delete it. It's like, bro, just try putting that somewhere. Like I hear the idea, just leave that and see if you can like that. They'll be like, oh, that's a really cool sound, but it's not gonna work, and they'll just delete it. I'm like, if it's a really cool sound, keep it. Like you just like gave yourself fuel, you know. If you hear a really cool sound, you should always be like, that's it. Like keep it, you know. I built whole songs around mistakes.
Oh yeah, I mean happy accidents and, you know, randomness.
Yeah.
And like lately I've been getting a lot into randomness in my production. Like I've kind of stopped writing melodies, and I've like I remember on your stream, Carter, we were trying out that thing, which
The step sequencer. Yeah, random step sequencer.
yeah, just coming up with things that you wouldn't come up with. And this might be a good kind of side topic to go into with like you know, creativity versus curation, and also like using AI or using robots or computer assisted production, because like we all technically do that in some way, shape, or form. But do we see that as like the main way forwards, or is there maybe something wrong with like AI assisted composition? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Google's my ghost producer already. I Google so much stuff that like dumb things. Like yesterday, I couldn't remember like what the fifth chord in E minor was, so I just Googled chords in E minor and looked it up. Like it's. I think that also, speaking of AI, completely kind of random here, but Alec, you know Alec, Alex sends me a link and he goes, "Listen to this music." I was like, "This is kind of weird, but like, I mean, it's cool." I was like, "Who made this?" And he goes, "Bro, it's AI. Like, an AI made the entire song. They made an entire album. They just randomly generated it." And we were like, in 10 years, they're gonna come for our yerbs. They're going to take our yerbs. Like it's scary how fast it's exploding. Like AI, because there's so much music now, right? And AI can go and look at the top 100 EDM songs and literally just take the most popular 10 and then take elements from them, recreate them, and put them in a better song, you know, or not, maybe not a better song, but something that's like exactly mainstream, like the perfect mainstream song, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, I think that is sort of where my line of questioning comes in. This idea of maybe not creativity versus curation, but composition versus curation. Because like the one thing that you are saying here kind of touches on is it will only be able to look at what exists. It can't necessarily look forwards. A robot can only use, or an AI, I should stop calling it a robot. An AI can only work with the data that it's given. It can't.
But that doesn't mean that it can't use two different sets of data to extrapolate a new form of data that wasn't there beforehand.
That's true, but who gives it that information? And I think that's where the topic comes in. I think it's actually a really good point. So, you know, it's like Matt was saying, you know, algorithms they're tools, they're not crutches. But like a robot can do so much that a human can't do, but a robot can't be original, I guess, is the better way to think about it. But then, you know,
none of us are original.
Yeah, we could get down that rabbit hole. But I don't know. Welcome back, Jaron. What do you think about AI and music and everything?
I mean, so here's an example I would take. That's something that everybody uses right now. Soothe. It automatically finds peaks and it gets rid of them, right? I mean, it's looking for stuff in a dynamic way. And everybody uses it. It's like the industry standard now, right? I just think that you're going to slowly find stuff getting automated out. And I think it's going to be a slow enough process that that you don't have to sacrifice that much creativity. You just figure it's another tool in your bag, right?
Well, that's if you're talking about a tool to actually, change the sound. I think Musar is also talking about a tool to create melodies, to create moods, to write chord progressions and stuff like that. What the takeaway for me is, again, it's like, it's another tool. Like, yeah, it's not going to create something that's not already possible. Like Musar said, you're feeding the AI stuff and it's coming up with new ideas, but it's not going beyond what the parameters that were initially set up for it. It's not going to go beyond. It's not going to surprise you, is what it's saying. So it's like, yeah, I can see how some people will use the AI as a crutch, but it's the same thing as like saying, maybe a few years ago when VSTs, or a couple of 10, 20 years ago when VSTs were getting big and stuff, like, our presets ruining the industry, it's things like that. I think it's the same evolution where if you want to, you can fall on it as a crutch and it will make you uncreative and boring and you'll get the product out and maybe you'll make it onto a Nissan commercial. But I think that if you're going to be using the tools creatively, it's only going to help people do more amazing stuff, like Mr. Bill showed with his with the tool that splits out the stems. Like, he can suddenly have parts of a song that he never had access to before. And for Mr. Bill to have access to something he doesn't have access to usually, like, that's the next creative potential, I think. So
Definitely.
Well, I think timbre, also, here's something about AI, is AI is never going to have its original timbre because it's mixing to a standard, right? Like, it's mixing to whatever, it's picking one of the, because like how they're generated is, it's kind of taking a blend of all these artists and then putting it together, and it's probably picking the optimal mix or whatever. But your mix, like, your sound comes from how you mix, right? Like, I've noticed that more than anything. Like, even producers like Kenny, we'll use for example, because I know Kenny does this. He'll be like, I'm sending it off to mix and master, right? But he's still mixing it as he goes, right? Like, he's choosing if there's more low end in this sound, like he's still EQing and all that. All the mix guy is doing is leveling his song. That's it. Like, the mix guy is leveling and throwing compression on his master and stuff like that. But
like, the mix guy's like the varnish and he's like the painter.
Exactly. Yeah. So like the texture that's there, right? Like, Kenny stuccoed the walls, so you have a stucco texture, but this guy's going to come in, put the
He's
nice thing over it and stuff.
He's also probably adding that side chain that Kenny Beats always says don't add side chain.
Yep. He's definitely side chaining his 808.
Yeah. But if I want to take it from like a compositional thing, because sorry, I jumped halfway in. I would say if I had a program that could make a Funkmod track that was 75% what I usually make, because like a lot of my bass lines and stuff, like, they're pretty similar sequencing. Like, it's just kind of making tweaks to like automation and stuff at the end of the day, because like there's only so far I can go, I think if it made it for me, then I could be like, oh, I know what to take this to the next level, to make the next iteration of my style is to go, rather than sitting there and doing all the work to keep making the same tune over and over again. And by the time I get to that point, I'm already exhausted. And I'm like, well, I mean, this is as good as it's going to get.
It's actually, I just had like a moment because we were talking on like the Theory Thursday stream earlier about like identifying things in genres and trying to identify like, tropes and stereotypes essentially of like, what is drum and bass, what is house, what is R&B, what is future bass, and I think it would honestly, like, I'm having this like pipe dream wish of like, feed all of my works in progress, feed all of my music into some AI, and it tells me what the fuck is my sound. Because I know a lot of us, maybe I'm the only person.
We have all these pieces to the puzzle, and we don't know exactly how it fits together yet.
Finally, be able to objectively hear your own music.
Honestly, like, that is this thing that like I would love to have.
Objectively hearing your own music would be a superpower.
Yeah.
My AI would be like, hey, like, this is like some house DMB future bass. Like, we're not sure. The BPM is just question marks. Like, good luck. Like, it would just be like, God bless, right under the.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing. Like, what would it find as like the common themes and blend all of those together, right?
It would just a lot of mids. It would just have a lot of mids.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, with that, like I did have one thing I wanted to say about like kind of AI and like mixing and how like an AI can't decide a mix. It can pick what's quote unquote optimal, but I remember I think I heard this on like Mr. Bill's podcast where he was saying like, you know, some styles of mixing that we think are good came from mistakes or are mistakes. The way some people sound is because of a mistake. Like he had this theory that like Flume, being a surfer, had his head batted around a bunch, so he has a little bit of hearing loss, and so that's why all of his music is so fucking bright. And also, for me, that might explain why all of his music is like, for some reason, like maybe he has some hearing damage in like one ear more than the other, because like almost all of his tracks are biased in the right ear. Almost every single Flume track I hear, there's like one sound that it's like all the way in another room, just in my right ear. And that's a hallmark of Flume's style. Would a robot necessarily do that? I don't know.
I mean, if
To
you
comment on that,
a bunch of Flume.
sorry, me and Carter have like the same rhythm of conversation.
Yeah.
Just a quick comment, and then I was just gonna say, like for me, like my right ear, I have hearing damage, and like I don't get as many high frequencies in my right ear as my left, so I always pan like certain instruments to the left because I can actually hear them. And then I don't know if sometimes in the right side of my mix if there's like weird resonances and stuff, because I honestly cannot hear it.
Here's the thing I've noticed about resonances. You can cover up and get rid of resonances really easily, as long as, like, I don't ever do surgical EQing unless I'm like ring modding something. Then I do, or like I'm like double comb filtering. I just think resonance is something that only sticks out if you're soloing a sound, right? And I never really have to worry about it. I think resonance is something as a producers we're like, oh shit, like I gotta get rid of it. But I've gone and listened to like a bunch of like Flume, for example, or like a lot of like Joyride, right? Like those dudes, like there's a lot of resonant sounds in there, but you don't like, it doesn't bother you because in context it's okay and it only lasts for like one bar, right? Or like it's like a thing that happens every so often. And I think that we worry about it a lot. I think as a producer, we like are super critical of our thing. And I think one thing I learned, and like a big turning point in my music, is one day I literally, one of my biggest, like my songs that got the most traction for me, I literally only EQ'd the sub out of everything, and everything else I didn't touch. Like I didn't touch EQ on anything besides just a cut at 90 hertz. And that was it. I didn't make any other EQs in that entire song.
Well, that's like, you know, it's the right sound choice. You don't need any EQ.
Yeah.
It's like those
True.
old jazz records where they all recorded off of like one mic based on how close or far away they were from the mic based on the instrument. And it's like, if you can set up the right volume then and the right instruments, the instruments themselves will be EQ'd where they need to be. And that's what creates like a band. That's what creates an orchestra. And it's a little bit harder, obviously, in EDM when you don't have specific parts. But when you do take that time to figure out, you know, this part of the spectrum is full, this isn't, this is, it really does help you make a song that needs almost no mixing at all. And that's the goal, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Depending, maybe.
I think it's hard to dubstep and stuff. I think anything like Funkmod would make, he would have to EQ more. But like it's a little different than me and you, Wade, because we make like pretty straightforward sound, right? Like our sound is
Just
straightforward.
you hear the sound, you just put it on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're just stacking from a base layer is what I like to call it, right? Like our primer. And Funk is making stuff that's like a lot more complex. And sometimes he has to distort a sound to shit to make a really cool timbre that sits in the middle, but he doesn't want any of the high end of that weird ass sound,
Right,
you know,
right.
or whatever.
Yeah, no, there's definitely two sides to that.
I would say like the more I mix, the less I do surgical EQing. Like I used to put like 6 notches in the lower mids to like get everything just perfect, and now I just do like, oh, just put a bell curve there, just put a high shelf, low shelf. Like honestly, because like what Carter was saying is like you do still want to keep those resonances, and I found in my earlier productions is a lot of them sound very hollow because I surgically EQ'd so much of the resonances that it always sounded like it was like in a tin box or something, even though it was supposed to be the optimal level for those frequencies. It still just completely destroyed the sound. So now I just do really broad bell curves. I mean, the only thing I'll do a really tight peak or notch on is if it's usually above like 6K, because those tend to be the most really harsh frequencies, and then from like 100 to 300 hertz if it's just like making the mix really muddy or something, but mostly just broadband EQ.
Vocals, all hard EQ vocals, because like in vocals, like microphones don't like picking up human voice. It's weird. Like they don't like picking it up clear. So it's really nice to be able to go in and like I use a dynamic EQ because Ableton's EQ is not that the best on vocals. But yeah, that's it. I think vocals is one thing that I would say kind of breaks the rule about EQing. You should definitely spend a lot of time finding the perfect frequencies to bring up and bring down in vocals.
Well, yeah, and you're so used to hearing the human voice that it's the first thing that you know is wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, I've been mixing drums less and less with effects, more and more with like just faders. Like volume faders have just, and I say this like constantly, but I keep like finding it's like the numbers inching up. Like before it was like 80% of your mixes in the faders, then it was like 90% of your mixes in the faders, and it's like 92% of your mixes in the faders, and it's like eventually I'm just not going to be EQing, and I'm just going to be, you know, playing with volume knobs, because like a lot of it now comes down to sound selection rather than specifically like making the sounds fit together. Just pick sounds that fit together and use those.
Yeah, I use EQ more lately as a utility. Like as much as EQ, that's what it is. It's a utility. But yeah, for me, it's more about taking out low end or high end that I don't need and just making sure that the sound is down to its essentials. It's not so much cutting little things or boosting little things as much as it is like, what don't I need? And let's get rid of that extra so that way we have more room to play with in terms of headroom and
How
stuff.
often do you do just like just filters only mixing, like only high pass, low pass filtering?
Oh, that's how I used to mix, because before VSTs, Reason didn't really have any good EQs. And then when they came out with the SSL mixer, that was like an eye opening. I'm like, I could do a low cut and a high cut on every one of these tracks. So for about a year, I just basically mixed with the SSL mixer in Reason, and then slowly they got rack extensions and stuff. And now I'm not, you know, as limited. But yeah, there was a time that I was just doing that specifically, and I think it was good practice.
The stock EQ in Reason is objectively terrible, though.
Oh, it's
holy shit!
You mean
so bad?
The yellow one with the red line on it? Yeah, no, it actually ruins phase. So
Worse than Cashmere Essentials.
Yeah, it's like literally the worst EQ you could imagine.
It's basically a phaser.
I mean, that can be good, but you know, not for what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you guys start at 0 and bring things down, or do you start low and bring things up? Do you mix down or mix up?
I mix hot as fuck, boy. 0.
Yeah. So like that I think a lot of people mix, like that's how I do. I make every sound at 0 in my song and then drag things down. But I've seen a lot of people who mix it like -20 and then just turn things, like a lot of house guys.
They're not
Chad.
They're not dubstep Chads.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
I'm not a dubstep Chad.
Old conventions.
I think that there's nothing wrong with producing quiet or loud as long as you know what the limits are for each. Like when you're producing quiet, you're going to have way more dynamics in the long run to deal with. And not that they disappear when things are loud. There's just more of a chance of them getting clipped somewhere along the chain before getting to the master. Actually, probably unlikely because of floating point. But point is, I think if you're trying to, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
I mean, I get what you were trying to say. If I can try and finish up the idea.
Yeah, please do.
Well, it's like if you are working at a low volume, then all of your signal chain is going to be like standard, and it's very old school, but it's not quote unquote better than mixing up. It's just that you're giving yourself essentially an insurance policy. That's the way that I look at it. Is that kind of what you were going for?
That's what it's like. You have more control, but at the end of the day, it's like they both have downsides, because if you're mixing really quietly, first of all, in DAWs, most of them, the accuracy of the meters actually goes down as the volume goes down. So the more your fader's down, the less accuracy you're going to have on things. So on the one hand, I see people who just actually leave their mixer levels flat and use gain utilities and stuff like that when mixing. But yeah, at the end of the day, as long as you know that when you're mixing loud, you could be, killing your headroom without even noticing and struggling with a mix like, oh man, why doesn't this fit? It's because you have no headroom. So it's about knowing the issues of mixing loud, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
So I was gonna say, so when I make my music, I listen quietly. Like I have my interface turned down, right? So I mix at 0 because it's just easy for me. But then I like obviously like I start at 0 and I work my way downwards, right? And then whatever I want my most prominent sound to be, it runs into the limiter because I start with a limiter on my master. Because in the end, my song is gonna be limited either way, right? Like I've produced enough to the point where I know what my song or that sound is gonna end up sounding that way. And then as I add new sounds, everything eventually works its way. You know, the limiters, all the faders start getting off of 0 and they all end up at like -12, you know, or whatever. But they start at 0 because I think every sound is going to be the main sound of the song. And like that's my mind is like, I start at 0 because I'm like, oh, I want this to be, oh, this new sound, fuck that old sound. This is the new main sound, you know? And like, that's just
I mean,
how
that's a good way to maximize your sound. You know, a lot of like I struggled for a lot of time with just loudness in my mixes. My shit was just quiet, and I think that part of that is because every time I loaded up a sound, it was, oh, I got to make it quiet so the other stuff can fit, rather than I got to make it loud so that it sticks out more than everything else. So I think there's like two sides to that as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, I find myself kind of, I start my tracks with everything at 0, and then I find like that critical mass moment where every sound was trying so hard to be the main sound, I couldn't think of what it was, and then I just like I turn every single fader down to -infinity decibels and just turn it up one by one. And that has been like my standard practice for about like 2.5 years now. I actually used to do that into a limiter. Like I get what you were saying, Carl. Like I was so comfortable with it because like everything would just sound loud and punchy, and I wouldn't have to worry about it. And then like I started thinking about it. Like it was Widdler who was actually getting me into this thought process where it's like, well, if everything is already loud and then it's going into a limiter, then I'm dealing with like a shit ton of gain reduction before I even start. So when I start adjusting the mix, I'm going to be dealing with any pumping that might have been in the track from like the kick being too loud. There might be some weird relationships with the kick and the bass. And turning off that limiter and working mostly just from like uncompressed sounds, it makes me more aware, let me try and get that sense out. It makes me more aware of when I am ignoring an issue that is more important than I'm making it.
So I have a comment on limiters.
Go for
So I do quite a bit of mastering, like as a side thing. But one thing I've noticed is when people mix their tracks to like -12 and they don't have a limiter on it, as soon as I put a limiter on it, the tonal balance is just completely changed. Like it's a weird phenomenon, and it's probably due to Fletcher Munson, volume and stuff. But as soon as I do that, I can tell when a mix hasn't had a limiter on it before. Like it's pretty obvious. Like you have this effect where you have a shit ton of bass and a shit ton of treble, and then the mids are just.
Oh yeah, the pre-master track, the post-master sub.
Yeah, and then I noticed they don't mix to the point where they account for peaks. So you usually have like some peaks within the low end of the kick and sub, which as soon as that hits the limiter, it's gonna duck it. Which if you're not working with a limiter on, you're not accounting for that. So in your mix, you're not compensating for the fact that there's this huge peak going on. And like, I think more people should mix with their master on, like, because it sucks, but I just see the same issues over and over and over. And they always say, well, I just had like a clipper or just like very soft compression on the master. And it just completely ruins the mix once it needs to be commercially loud.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like having a temporary master is almost like, at least I guess it depends on the genre, obviously, like because we're all talking like EDM. Our music is kind of intended to be loud, like going back to the earlier conversation on where our music is being listened to before all this went down, and like a lot of our music is meant to be played on big loudspeakers outputting a shit ton of bass. And not a lot of us listen with big loudspeakers that are outputting a bunch of bass. And I feel like in those situations, like what Witt is saying is chat, like having a temporary master that you can just like turn on or turn off when you're working on it can help assuage a lot of those issues.
I think that's the best of both worlds,
Yeah.
honestly, because there is a benefit to producing into mastering to an extent. You know, there's obviously a lot of color and changing. The song is changed. It's a different song that you're producing once you take off the mastering. But I think that the best of both worlds is to either you can start with it on and then switch it off when you're ready, or start with it off and switch it on when you're ready. But either way, having that perspective is really important.
It's
And
really
just like
hard for me to-
sorry, what's that, Carter?
I was gonna say it's really hard for like to me to turn off my master because my chain. You've seen it, right? Like my template.
Oh yeah, no,
my-
you're. Well, here's another question for you, Carter. Do you feel like your template causes you to? Do you feel like your template boxes you or frees you?
For me, it's freeing me with a bunch of time because all my
Okay.
template is it's designating mix channels of like basic things I would already do to a certain frequency range, and
Right.
then that's it. Because that's all my template is it's just designating frequency ranges and gain staging.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I definitely think it limits me in coloring my sound because all my songs sound the same color now.
But that's like your sound. But
Yeah.
you don't think that it. But no, you make enough. Like yeah, I was kind of just asking you so you could say it out loud. I knew the answer, but it's like you make so many different genres, but your template is such a utility to you that it's not even about what the music is. It's about how the music is going to be grouped together. So
I kind of want to talk about templates just in general, actually, because I feel like, Carter has like just everything is just completely codified. He finally knows how to color code his sections so that not every track is pink, and he is, he has like everything set up so it's like vocals go here, drums go here, basses go here. And for a while, I did that. I had kind of the Skrillex master template set up, and then I went and I returned to the default template. And I find myself doing that like every 6 months. I build up this like template of like, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, this is so much stuff, I can't think. And I have to start over. And I'm constantly coming up with new ideas. And I'm curious, like, do y'all find yourselves wanting to change your templates? Do you use templates? Obviously Carter does. I guess this is more for Yoni and Jaren. But do you also feel like, kind of your question to Carter was like, do you find that it can even limit you, or do you find yourself using it in only a positive way?
Mine's only positive. It's just saving me time. Like it's saving me things that I would do instantly anyways. It's automatically side chaining from a certain channel. It's automatically limiting a certain thing, or it's automatically cutting out the sub frequencies in my melodies, or vocals or whatever. So for me, it just saves time. I don't think I could ever change. If I changed it, I would still have like a similar layout. So
Sure.
I've got a couple of templates, and I don't know how I feel about them. I switch between them probably every couple of weeks, and I notice that when I have a template, it does. I don't want to say it forces me into a certain direction, but I definitely start and make similar types of songs because their structures kind of are the same. Because my templates, like I said, I feel like they're not like Carter's. My templates were set up in a way that were too boxy, and that's why I think I have a bunch of different templates. I have like a drum and bass template, I have a dubstep template, and I've got like, and I hop between them. But at the end of the day, I think I want to set up a template like Carter's where it's just utility, it has nothing to do with structure, it has nothing to do with structure of the song, has nothing to do with the BPM, has nothing to do with the samplers or the samples that are loaded. It's just strictly routing. I think that's a pretty good idea.
Use any,
because I always want to sidechain my sub bass, and I always want to have another group where there's nothing below 90 hertz, like Carter said, and other things like that. So, I might figure that out. Yeah.
What about you, Funkmod?
I've always had this weird thing with templates where I'll use one and then I get the blank canvas effect with it. So I feel like I'm just like filling things in, and like seeing how much I need to fill in is overwhelming. But The template that I use right now is mostly just like, it's honestly just bus mixing. So like on the drums, there'll be like soft clipping on the whole group, and then like EQs and like certain distortions I'll use on certain drum elements. And then like Yoni said, like I'm always going to sidechain the kick to the sub. So that's set up. But other than that, it's not like, it's kind of like a very loose template, because for me, I find a lot of creativity and a lot of pleasure from doing mixing. So I don't like to set up too much of the mixing, because I feel like when I get stuck with something, it's hard for me to realize the potential of maybe trying a different approach to something. And I like to be always leveling up my mix, because honestly, a lot of my music is very boring, very well produced, boring music. So I kind of have to make it up in the mix a little bit. So.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm a similar way when it comes to like how I approach mixing. I saw your message, Will. I'm gonna respond as soon as I can.
Okay.
But like I mentioned, I like these ideas of like big kind of expansive templates, even if they're just utilities. But I'm kind of like you were, like if I have this project that has like 30, 40 tracks loaded in before I've even started writing in music, that's just like anxiety, and like you're expected in a sense to fill in all these things. And not every song I write has vocals. Not every song I write has drums. Not every song I write has chords even. And it feels like I am setting myself up for something that I will not fulfill. And I've gotten into personally, like I save a ton of racks and everything. Like my sidechain, I have a rack that I can load up from my drum sounds that already is preloaded, that can route it out to my sidechain, and then all I got to do is select all my tracks that aren't my kick or my snare, group them into a big group, throw on my sidechain rack, go to the drum rack and set it up, and I already have it done. It takes a little bit more time because I have to set it up each time, but for me it's like, where am I spending time and where am I saving time? And I feel like if I have to spend time hunting through a template like Carter's, I'm gonna get less work done than if I just have like this very minimalistic thing. I mean, it's the same reason why I use Faceplant. There's nothing in it when I open it up. It's just a blank canvas in the pure sense of the word. So I feel like it's definitely like a mindset thing too.
Yeah, because my mindset when I go into my project is like, even though this says drums or even though this says anything, I'll be like, oh, what if I throw a vocal through my drum group? What if I throw, like, I experiment with it, you know, like having like the predetermined. I'm not even gonna call it a template like for like a song, because it's a template based, like Widdler said, purely on utility. That's all the template is for. The template is there to save me blanket mix things, right? Like it's limiting a group, or it's cutting out the sub of anything that isn't drum and bass. And I'll be like, oh, so what if I like take my vocal and run it through like my effects channel or something like that? Like I'll just get it's fun to me. Like to me, it's like more freeing, because it's like, maybe I didn't see it. I don't know though. It's just my mindset for it is different. Just because something on my track says vocals, like a lot of time I don't put vocals there. I'll put like the piano there because I don't want the piano sidechain.
I'll ask kind of a follow-up question to that. Do you find yourself easily distracted by things that are like in your periphery? Or do you find yourself pretty good at like locking in?
It just depends. If I hear something or if I'm interested, that's the way it is anything. I could spend 12 hours doing it. If I'm interested, I'll just grind it out. And I'll just sit there, and it'll never, like, my mind will just stay on it. I just have to be extremely locked in on it.
For sure. I mean, I get that. I think that is kind of part of it. Like, I know that I am like incredibly flighty when it comes to certain things. Like I can easily get distracted, especially by chat. when I'm doing something, and I think that is partially why I like need to sort of like Marie Kondo my life and like just pull things out, remove distractions, so that I can really hone in on everything. And sorry, I'm just a little distracted because I know Widdler has to depart soon, so I figure we can start wrapping up, maybe take a couple of Q&A questions from chat, and then start ending.
Yeah.
But
I got food coming too, so it's like perfect time. I got food gonna be here in just a minute.
So I guess if anyone has any like kind of comments on that or any last minute thoughts while we get some Q&A from chat, they can make their thoughts heard, and then we can start wrapping things up here.
Okay, this is for Funkmod or Wid. All right, what do you guys think? Because I do this. So I put a master chain on my song right after I make my first drop, because my first drop that's like let me just say, like, that's how I want it to sound, right? In the end of my track, that's how I'm gonna want it to sound, right? Is that a good? What do you guys think about that? Because and then from there I can just make my whole song with my master, because then I have the timbre that I want.
I mean, yeah, as long as you can A/B it and understand that maybe when the master is off, like if you can suddenly realize like, holy shit, this is way too loud, but because there's a limiter on it, you don't notice it. Then yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
My limiter definitely turns down every song I ever had.
Yeah, I mean,
But people are like,
that's
your
what a
master
limiter does. The question is it harming or helping the
Yeah.
track?
It's funny. People will be like, a master's meant to make your song louder. I was like, not for me. Not for me. It makes it quieter.
I think one way, like I kind of do the same thing where I kind of like shape my initial tone with the master, but before I finish a tune, I always go back, or like even like 3/4 of the way through the tune, I always go back and adjust the master to get like 5 or 10% better on the overall tone. But yeah, I do the same thing. If you're in Ableton, you can just use the key function and just put it on like 1 or 9, so you're not deactivating tracks or something. You could just flick it off and on while you're working on the track.
I guess also it helps that like my master has 2 plugins. It is literally a glue compressor and an EQ cutting out the lows, like the sides of the lows, and that's it. That's like my master, and a Pro L2, but I don't really use Pro L2 that much. I just use it as like a meter to make sure I'm loud, because gotta be loud.
Yeah.
So
it depends on what tone you're going for. Like on some masters, like I'll do like analog compression in EQ just to add like a timbre to the overall track. But usually that's like not till like the end. Like I'm trying to go for the digital loudness first of all. That's just like a little extra like sparkle to put on top, basically.
I think dynamics are overrated too. I think dynamics are something that in my music at least, I usually have one element that's really dynamic, so it doesn't matter for me. Like I'm not making like jazz, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
if anything's under,
it's contrast.
Yeah.
If anything's under -12, it's just not even coming through on my track.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I do. So
cool. All right, there's some questions.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I don't want to cut off the conversation, of course. I just know that we got some people who want to go. I'm gonna answer this. So Volt, I am 100% with Widdler. Like, if you don't like your DAW, there's no shame in trying others. I do DAW day streams at least like, once every other month where we're learning a new DAW. So there's always going to be a grass is greener element to that. But I think Widdler just kind of put it all in a nice little bow there. All right, so we're gonna save Matt's question. If you guys want to answer in chat, you can. But I want to go first through AYS's question real quick, then Retired Orphans, and then I know Wid needs to get going, so we'll try and get this done quick. AYS is asking, where do you find your inspirations, or who are you inspired by?
We can everywhere, everything.
Yeah, just kind of go counterclockwise, I guess. So Carter.
I'm inspired by like. It depends. It changes every week. I don't know. The hard thing for me is like I find one song and that's like the only song I listen to for like 2 weeks, and then that heavily influences my music, and it's kind of bad, but it's also kind of good. Like it forces me to make new genres because I listen to all sorts of music. That's like my thing. It goes through like every 2 weeks. Like I'm inspired by something different or a different song. So,
yeah, Jaren.
So I don't really like take specific inspiration from anything. I just like I have an aesthetic that I like. So if I feel like it's kind of like a more futuristic style of something I've ever heard, or kind of like pushing forward, but it's also just my taste. But like if I hear a metal track and I'm like, oh shit, I can imagine it being 2040 and this metal track playing. Like that's kind of what I go for. So like if anything's trying to be like more futuristic, cybery, I usually just try to take inspiration from that.
Nice. I mean, I would say I don't get inspired. I mean, it's pretty evident by the fact that I don't put out music and by the fact that like no one considers me a producer. But I would say like for me, education is a big part of it. I just learn. That helps me. Retired Orphan says, how do you guys motivate yourself to keep working through a track? What methods do you use? What been stuck with my music? Would like some knowledge.
We're still doing counterclockwise, I guess. I'm with you, Orphan. It's like some weeks I have the answer to that, and some weeks I don't. I feel like for me personally, the times that I finish songs, there's usually one of two things that's happened. It's either I've had a long flow state session that happened from the start of the song to the point that I got too tired to work on it anymore, whether it's 2 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours. I feel like that's the first step into me finishing a song, is having enough effort that first session to want to go back to it. Because a lot of times going back into a session that's only 20 minutes in can be a little frustrating, especially if you've lost that momentum. And the other thing is, the only other time I've really finished music is when I've dished out demos to people and they're like, oh, we want to release that, so I have to finish it. It's almost like if I don't finish it, then I lose out on something. So I think that the important thing to take away from this is that depending on which way you're approaching finishing a song, at the end of it, finishing the song itself is a good goal to have, because finishing a song is better than not finishing a song. If you think back to 2 years ago, a song that you finished, you remember it. A song that you didn't finish, it's gone. So you might as well finish it. It's not going to be the best thing you're going to do. Just push through it, finish it, and have a product that you can then move on to the next product. Because if you don't finish it, you're never really ready to move on. And that's a problem that I've had, is that I feel like I'm working on a project and then I start a new one. I'm not ready to move on because this other project is still holding on to me. So I don't know. I'm done about blabbing.
I am. I think I'm the same as Wid. I have to hear something. Something has to hook me in when I'm working on a song within the first hour. Otherwise, I'm not going to finish it. Even if it doesn't hook me hard, because then I can power through it. Then I can do the Mr. Bill. If as long as there's something there that my brain is like, come on, like come on, let's go a little bit more. And then it just depends. And like flow state is extremely. If I don't get into a flow state, like I'm not gonna. I have to finish a song within a week. Otherwise, I'm never gonna touch it again. That's just how I am. It take 1 week is all the interest I can have for a song. So
yeah, I'm kind of similar, where like if I don't get a flow state in the first initial writing session, I just fucking can it, like, because it's not not memorable for me if I don't get in the flow state at first. And then the second thing is if I don't like the track after like keeping it for a month or like playing it out or whatever, like it's just forever a dub plate. Like I won't finish it unless somebody wants to sign it, like Yoni's saying. Then I'm like, oh shit, I need to finish this track. But like I'm definitely not the person asked how to finish tunes. Like most of my finished tunes are just copy and paste the first drop and breakdown, take some of the drums out in the breakdown, and then it's released, dude.
Yeah. Sometimes it's so dumb what needs to be done just to finish and release a tune.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything because I don't release music, but I guess, just
on that pushing. Though, I'm glad that I know that maybe this isn't like something you talk about on this stream a lot, but you've been doing those production streams on the other channel. I think that's like the first step in working on and finishing music, is like actually sitting and producing, which like I never get to see you do because all we do is challenges, and nobody gets to see me do it either. I get it. It's weird.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I have a lot of emotional hangups about producing on stream, so that's a whole other story. But
someone said I feel like producing a chat's very distracting. It is, but I'm weird. I literally, the moment I'm inspired, I turn on my stream. Like I stream so much. I stream as much. I'm the only person who probably streams as much as Musar does. And like, all my streams are like production, right? Like 99.9% of my streams are production. The other 0.1% is us going, yo, have you heard this? Yo, have you seen this video? Hey, listen to my song, and it's fucking Sonic, okay? Like,
Never forget Widdler Sonic VR stream. Never forget it.
it's like anything.
That's what I'm saying. Twitch doesn't want anything to do with me, man.
Well, you got to make him care.
Yeah.
But
all right, guys, listen, I really have to go.
so-
I'm supposed to call somebody right now.
Yeah,
I
so
appreciate you, Musar, so much for having me on, and I'd love to do this again. So
Absolutely,
definitely invite me again. Funkmod,
Absolutely.
Carter, I love you guys. Thank you guys so much.
All right, everyone say goodbye to Wid. Bye.
I love you guys.
See you,
Love
Wids.
you, Wid.
Bye.
Alrighty, so I guess that means we should probably start wrapping things up here. Thank you to everyone who was hanging out. That was the Widdler. A little bit of an unceremonious exit, but I guess we can just keep going through. Carter, thank you so much for stopping by. What do you got going on? What's coming down the pipeline?
I have me and Nexi finally settled on a bass alias. So we're gonna be releasing like some house music, some Russian hard bass, some speed house, some D&B. And then I'm probably gonna release a tune next week. And then I'm just talking to a few labels trying to get some stuff out.
Oh,
Am I
yeah.
streaming tonight? What do you think, Matt? What do you think? Come on.
Oh, yeah. Guaranteed. Alrighty. Everyone say goodbye to Carter.
Later, guys. Have a good
Bye, Kodo.
Alrighty. And last but certainly not least, we have... Wait, what side am I going on? This side, we got the lovely Jaren. Let me do my Vanna White. What you got
Yeah,
going on?
I think I pretty much announced what I was doing on the last one, but I have 2 EPs coming this year. I posted a new track today, so if you want to check that out, it's up. I'm doing a guest mix for Underground Sounds that should be coming out by the end of the month, I believe. They're going to do visuals over the mix and stuff. I'll add I'm going to try to get 3 or 4 new tunes to put in there in the next week and a half, so that'll be cool. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hell yeah. Are you going to be streaming anytime soon? We get to see a Funkmod stream this month?
We'll see. The thing is I wish I could stream more. Just my internet's so unreliable that it just makes me frustrated, and it'll just completely ruin the production session for me.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I mean, I love doing it on stream, but the fact that I'm even opening the DAW is I need to respect that I'm even doing that. So I don't need to frustrate myself any more than that.
I get you. Fair enough. Well, hopefully we get to see some new funky stuff in the near future then. Alrighty.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Bye to Funkmod. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Love you, buddy. Bye. Alrighty then, friends. That is going to do it for us today. Thank you all so much. Thank you to all those follows. Thank you all those hosts. Thank you to all those bits and donos. Thank you to everyone. I really appreciate it. This was super fun. Thank you to Funkmod and to Carter and to Widdler for the wonderful, wonderful conversation. Absolutely. I love you all. Here's a heart. Let's go find someone to raid. Let's go see who is live. Maybe give someone a nice day. Please, if you haven't already and you like the content, please be sure to follow. If you really like the content, please maybe give me a subscription or a Twitch Prime. If you really are so inclined, no obligation there. Tonight, I might be streaming on the alt account. Keep an eye on my Discord for that. Tomorrow, we will have Freebie Friday. We will be doing challenges. We will be doing feedback. We'll be doing plenty of stuff. It'll be fantastic. Let's see. Let's go raid Wolg. We're gonna go raid Wolg. Working on some stuff, some weird noises. Good luck. If you are unfamiliar with Wolg, good luck. Wolg will actually be on the stream next week. I can say that next Thursday we will have the next episode of the podcast featuring Wolg, who are rating Mr. Bill, and also Squunto. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be same time next week. How's it going, Lit Arwen? We're currently rating. Apologies. So I will see you all tomorrow. Please go spam. No, actually, you know what? Don't spam too much. Spam one emote. but only once. So I am hoping to see 41 people spamming one emote a single time. And that emote will be Musar Champ. Just post that one time in his chat. That would be wonderful. I think that should be it. Thank you all so much. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Be safe. Be happy. I love you all. Go be nice to Wool. Give him a follow. Give him some love. And I will see you tomorrow or tonight.